Lu Jinian thought about it in detail, until he was sure there was nothing else to add. Just as he was ready to press the button to hang up the phone, in that very moment, he worriedly repeated everything he had just said to the assistant. As Lu Jinian had just reminded him to book 3 o'clock tickets, the assistant said, "Mr. Lu, I've got it. 3 o'clock tickets. No smoking. Prepare a blanket and pillow, because you're afraid Miss Kiao." Lu Jinian didn't even wait for his assistant to finish speaking and hung up without hesitation. The filming of Alluring Times was drawing to an end. Every day, there were actors who come into the set to film their final scenes and leave. There were fewer people each day at the Rowdy Villa, until the very end, when it appeared especially empty. Before, the hotel restaurant was packed full. Now, over a half of the seats were left practically empty. Qiao Anhao pretended to not know that she had been pregnant and had lost her child. She seemed no different than before. Whilst filming, she was wholeheartedly in character. When there weren't any scenes to shoot, she would sit at her side and watch other people's scenes. She would also chat and laugh with other actors and staff members. Every now and then, her line of sight would fall on Lu Jinian. When her eyes met his, she would even curve her lips into a sweet smile. Once they turned away from one another, she'd lower her eyes to mask the pain and sadness that crept up on her. During the day, she looked very normal, but when the night came, it was hard for her to fall asleep, and she had many dreams even if she did. In the dreams, there would always be a cute, white, chubby baby looking at her, calling her Mama. When she would reach out to touch it, the baby would disappear. Then, she would wake up and rub her belly. Tears would inexplicably start to fall. On Friday, the weather in Beijing was remarkably clean. The skies were clear, without a hint of smog. Early that afternoon, Qiao Anhao drove the car from the set back to Mingxia Garden. After she had lunch, she took a shower, and then searched through her entire wardrobe, trying on some outfits. In the end, she chose a white dress with lace at the bottom. It looked youthful and clean. Qiao Anhao's long hair was digitally permed in spring. Now, though it had grown out a little, it was still beautifully curled. Yet she asked Madame Chen to help straighten it for her. At last, she looked into the mirror and put a layer of barely visible, light and natural makeup. Just when she had pretty much finished up, she looked at the time. It was 2:30. She grabbed her bag and went downstairs. Lu Jinian had just driven home from Winning Entertainment and stood in the living room. Before he could even finish his cup of water, he saw Qiao Anhao come downstairs. In the middle of taking a swallow, he abruptly stopped. Just like time travel, in that moment, it was like he instantly went back to the days of his youth and saw the straight-haired Qiao Anhao in her graceful white dress. She walked over to him and smiled gently. "Can we go?" Without taking his eyes off of Qiao Anhao's smile, Lu Jinian stood as if his pressure points had been triggered. He stood still, watching her, a perfect match to the memory of her former hip school self. After a long while, his long eyelashes gently fell and rose again. He raised his head and downed the water. His long fingers put the cup down, and he said in pleasant voice, "Let's go."